Just to start things off, these are the materials that I plan to use for my Inktober pieces. First of all, there's the paper. I am using Arteza mixed media pad. It's got a slight bit of tooth to it, which I really like for brush pens, which I'm going to go into a bit later. And I've cut them, the sheets, because this is an 11 by 14 inch book, I've cut it into sheets of 6.5 by 6.5 inch squares. And this is the size I'm going to work with. I have a tendency to go crazy with details, and so I know that if I gave myself the full 11 by 14 inch sheets, I would use it all and I would never finish these 31 pieces. That's why I'm cutting it down to a much more manageable size. So that's the paper. Now the pens, let's talk about those. Well, first of all, I do have a pencil because some of them I'm doing straight out with ink without bothering to sketch, but some of the pieces I am sketching out first. And so I have my trusty mechanical pencil. This is my favorite. I use Rotring, and it is a 0.5 lead. I also have a 0.3 lead that I use. It depends on how fine I want to get my details. This is my preferred 0.3 pencil. It is a Faber-Castell. And I usually use HB lead for my sketches to keep things light and so it doesn't get in the way and interfere with my how I'm seeing what's going to be emerging on the page. Now let's get to the pens. Well, actually, let's talk about the inks first. So I have some of my pens, I have just black ink, but the other thing that I am using is gray ink because I like to have the black and the gray and to be able to do some kind of shading with that, as you can see from this piece here. So I have this, which is Irene Gris Nuage, which is a gray that I have used in the past. I love it. It is a very warm toned gray, so it has a little bit of a purpley tint to it even, and it's very light and pale, which is what I want for this. I don't want a gray that's going to be too dark and compete with the black. And the other one I wanted to try out this year, I have not used this yet before. It's a different brand, it's a Pilot brand, and this ink, I sampled it a little bit, and it has a bit more of a cool tone to it. It's more bluish. And so that's a neat pair to have, one warm and one cool gray. The one downside I had with the Pilot is I thought it was a little bit too dark. I liked the Urbine one because it's very light. And so I tried diluting this one with a ratio of 2:1 ink to distilled water in here, which I am trying in my brush pen, which I'll get to now. All right, so pencils, paper, ink. Let's talk about the pens now. First up, I have this one, which is a fancy fountain pen. Although honestly, nib and nib holder work just as well. I just like something fancy to draw with every once in a while. But I have this pen currently filled up with, let's see, what do I have it filled with? I have it filled with the Urbine ink. The upside of using something like this is you don't have to pick any single one ink color to fill it up with, and you can just use whatever you wish at the time. Second, I have a Kuretake number 8 fountain brush pen. So this one is fillable with either a default black ink cartridge, which they come with, or you can actually buy converters, which allow you to fill it up with whatever ink you would like. I currently have black in here because that is going to be my black pen. And this here is the Kuretake number 13. It's pretty much the same thing as this as far as the brush tip goes. It's a little bit different, although I haven't noticed any difference in how it behaves. And this is essentially the same thing as this. It's just got a fancier housing for it, fancier body again. This one is cheaper. This one is, I can't remember, it's either $9 or $13. but it is a refillable pen, and these synthetic tips are amazing. I love these. I love these tips. If they made watercolors with these kinds of brushes, I would buy them in a pinch. And finally, I have a red gel pen, which I might use for little touches of red. It's Juice Up. I like these guys. It's also Pilot, actually. I didn't realize that. All right, so that's what I plan to be using. Now let's look at my actual tools of drawing here. I want to talk about why I choose to use brush pens. First of all, I am primarily a watercolor painter, so I am very comfortable most of the time with brushes. And secondly, I like brush pens because they give you a much more expressive line, because there's variation. You can get thick or thin depending on how hard you press. And secondly, let's take a close look at that tip. See how beautifully pointed that is and how sharp. I can actually get a finer line if I control this carefully with a brush pen than I can with a 0.3. This is a gel pen. And just to show you, here's the gel pen line. Here's 0.3. And this is my brush pen. Not only can I get the thin, I can also get this thick. So I have a much more versatile tool here than I do with just a pen that has a single thickness, and it's so much more expressive as well. Now, you'll notice that when I pressed down thickly, I got this broken up texture, and that is because of the paper I'm using. This paper has a bit of a tooth to it, as I mentioned earlier, and that, for my purposes, is actually a really good thing, because it allows me to do these. If I move my brush across swiftly like that, I can get this broken texture, and that allows me to shade. It lets me use this pen on this paper as a tool for shading, not just have black or white, but have gradations in between if I so choose. So that's why I really enjoy using this paper, particularly for the purposes that I have in mind in this for these drawings. Now, if I want to have it, dark black, I can actually just go over it enough, and that fills in all the little bumps and gaps in the paper, and then you can get some pretty solid black that way. You just have to go over it a few times. But I like this. I like having that choice of whether or not I want solid or broken up for lighter bits of shading. My other pen, I mentioned I have one pen that's filled up with gray. So this pen, the one I just showed you, is black, and that's just with the default cartridge that this Kuretake pen comes with. Now this one is filled up with my custom mixture of diluted ink. This is called a converter cartridge. It lets me fill up a brush pen with whatever color I choose, or whatever color mixture I choose. So in here I have gray, and again, because it's a brush pen, I can get these very thin lines, and I can also get thick lines, or even these broad sweeping strokes if I move my brush quickly, which is great for doing like these grassy tufts. And I move it quickly, and I want the ground to be broken up a little bit, the texture like that, and I can get these thin stalks coming up. You can see there's a lot of versatility within a single brush than within a single pen. Now, I like to use the gray and black in combination to get some shading on my pieces. And finally, I have my fountain pen. This is a Pilot Falcon, and the cool thing about this is it is also a tip that has some kind of flex to it. So it can do these thin lines, but I can also press harder and get slightly thicker. Not as thick as a brush pen, but enough that there is variation so that it is not quite so mechanical as I mentioned before. Now I thought I had filled this up with my Urbine Nuage Gris, but I think I had a little bit of brown from a previous filling. So it uses a very similar sort of cartridge that I had in the gray pen. Again, it's just filled with my own custom choices, and I had it filled with brown before, and I think I didn't clean it out completely. So when I added the gray, I have now this grayish brown, which I actually really like, although I'm going to have a hard time redoing a mixture that is exactly right like this if I want to repeat it for everything. But anyway, I think it gives a nice contrast to, it's a subtle contrast. I mean, these colors are all muted. I mean, I have black and gray and a brownish gray, which is sort of like a warm tone here. But it gives me nice variety to work with for my pieces while still maintaining a mostly monochrome type of look. Now these in combination are going to be what I'm doing for the majority of the pieces. Oh yeah, and one final thing, I did have this little red gel pen. You know, it's the same, it's a Pilot, so it's the same as that black one that I showed you earlier with this line, so it's a 0.3. Adds a little bit of color here and there maybe on some of the pieces where necessary.